That's working. Right, Cadwell. I'm taking the trailer back this morning, being the Monday after the weekend, down to SGM Towing. Lovely trailer. Thank you to those guys for really good service. And yeah, some thoughts. Okay, bit disappointed overall. This is going to sound like I just whinge, but this is the problem. When you start, God, you're just happy to be living your dream. Driving on tracks that you've seen for years, you just almost want to pinch yourself that you're in a race car on racetracks. And then after a while, you want to actually be racing people and you want to beat them. And you're also racing yourself. So there's absolutely no reason why you should not be able to beat your previous lap times. Unfortunately, at Cadwell, that was the case. I didn't even beat myself from last year. That sucks. That really hurts. We're off the pace. We're always a bit off the pace. But to be off our own pace, that's annoying. Really annoying. So, start with qualifying then. The track seemed damp. The very first session, the very first lap from one of the other series, a guy went off. So I thought, okay, track's going to be a bit wet then. So took it easy, and then felt my way into it. I thought, actually, it's not so bad. Came back in, saw the times, and thought there was a mistake. Because, yeah, way off what I was even on last year. Certainly slower than my quickest time last year of all weekend. And I had some serious thinking to do. Now, when I went to Donny, the amount of times I was watching my videos back, because we've had months to get ready for Donington, and every corner I was thinking, right, do this there, do that there. Redgate was my nemesis, so I really worked on Redgate, and I'm nailing Redgate now. And working on my, where am I going to turn in, where am I going to try and get back on the power, and yeah, and it shows. With Cadwell, I think I watched the video back once, went, oh, okay, yeah, I remember. This whole hobby is like a part-time job. You have to put so much into it, and you can't just turn up. You can, but you'll be nowhere. You're not really getting the maximum out of it. So yeah, I just took for granted that, yeah, I know where I'm going around Cadwell. Well, the thing is, you need to. It was a year ago, and yeah. For example, the mountain section, I thought, I had it in my head because I'd seen, looked at a couple of other onboards as well, and people breaking about the bridge for the mountain, and I'm not going quick enough. I don't need to brake for the bridge. I brake after the bridge. Again, yeah, I was losing a good chunk of time there for the quality. So, yeah, I was really annoyed. Rubbing. I was getting rubbing from what felt like the rear left, and almost, when I'm going in a straight line. When I turned left, it was fine. If I'm going straight, I can get a bit of rubbing. As soon as I put any steering to go right, I can feel it, I can hear it. I thought I could even smell tyre smoke. So that was a bit worrying. For race 1, I think I firmed up the suspension a bit, and hopefully that'll sort it out. Race 1 was a bit of a non-event. Unfortunately, one guy went off at the start, and we had a long safety car. We only got 2 racing laps in, so again, I didn't have much chance to get my eye in and build up. I think testing at Cadwell is really important, just to get yourself back in the mindset of what you can do around that place. Some of the people have said it's a confidence circuit. So yeah, race 2, not really much happened. Got ahead of the 47 car at the start. Yeah, before the safety car. I thought I'll try and stay ahead of him a little bit, and then thought, actually, do you know what? Rather than slow us both down, I'll follow him and watch his lines and try and, you know, learn a chunk, so I can have a better race too. And at one point on the back section and on the relatively long straight going into, I think it's Park, I eased off and thought I'll let him go past. And I looked at my mirrors and I'd completely lost him. I thought, where's he gone? It just must have been in my blind spots. I could not see him. I sort of panicked a little bit. I thought, but he must be right next to me then. Where the hell is he? Okay, well, I can't see him. I'm just going to have to get on with it and do my own thing. And took a line. And suddenly appeared really large in my mirror. I thought, have I just almost cut him up? And that annoyed me. And I spoke to him afterwards. He said, no, I just backed off a little bit. Okay. That fear of people, my mirrors, there's a bit of a theme to that, which I'll come on to. But yeah, I probably just need to do my own thing a bit more. So, race 1, mostly safety car really. Not a lot happened. We had the restart. I put in a couple of laps which weren't brilliant. Still getting rubbing, and that was putting me off. That was really concerning me, because I'd even thought for qualifying, I've done 3 laps, should I park it and see what the hell is going on? I do not want to have a puncture, you know, at Cadwell. It's really not going to end in a good day. So race 1, I finished last but 1, and thought I've got a lot of, when I saw the times, I've got a lot of speed to find here. So I thought about it. So race 2, to get rid of this rubbing, I thought I'll raise the rear left another 1.5 centimetres, because I'm taking my measurements from the bottom collar of the coilover to the adjuster, and as it was slightly higher than it was on the right. Maybe my measurements are going in the wrong, maybe that's a bad measurement, or maybe it's the weight from the fuel tank. I don't know. I'm having to run more fuel now because the power to weight ratios. So I don't know. I'm fairly sure it was the left. You can't get as much of your hand in the left rear arch as the right, even when there's no fuel in, I think. So something weird's going on there. I'm not really picking up, but I need to look at it properly. I need to spend some time with it. Anyway, so raised it 1.5 centimetres, and I felt like I had the same amount of gap. And sure enough, no rubbing. And I put the damper back to the same as the right one as well. Felt much better. thinking back to it, I felt like, first of all, my laps were a bit better, but I felt, and looking back at the videos, like the front was a bit woolly, and at some point I should have locked this really. I've softened the front springs down to 3 clicks. I thought I was on 6. 3 is very soft. Turns out it's too soft because there's so much dive. I'm braking for the mountain bit, and at some points I'm having to steer a bit right because the front is, you know, trying to sort itself out from the braking. It's like you kind of cross your fingers, turn in, let it sort itself out. Once it's turned in, once you're in that turn, it's fine. You can get power on nice and early, relatively, from my experience, and it's fine. But until it's that awkward turn-in bit, which I was suffering with, and yeah, I'm absolutely convinced now it is the front dampers. They were too soft. I've been on this mission of softening the car up because I like it quite firm, so I know exactly what it's doing. But unfortunately, then you've got no grip. So, you know, over the year or so, I've been softening. Obviously, with the front, I've gone too soft. The rear feels lovely. Things on about 4 or 5 clicks, I think. But yeah, you want a softish rear end. But yeah, I think you can see in the videos the front is just too bouncy. So yeah, that's where I was going wrong there. So the race then, well, actually it started really well. I nailed the start. I started to get quite close to Jackson, I think, and he's off a little bit, so I'm still not massively confident. Following people inches behind their bumper, I just can't get my head around the fact that that's fine, that's normal. You know, he's not going to slam on the brakes for any particular reason. But yeah, I need to get out of that safety margin mindset. But I passed a couple of cars, and there was a car starting behind me. So yeah, I was up to 8th, and I thought, well, that's not going to last. But actually, it did for a couple of laps. But it was mentally draining. I'm in the wrong lane. At one point, the guy behind me, Ken, he's far quicker than me, and I kept watching out. He was putting his nose in. One point, again, I lost him in my mirrors and thought, well, he stuck his nose in a few seconds ago. Maybe he's on my inside, and I left a bit of room on the inside going into, which became the outside of the gooseneck. But just because I was terrified, I didn't want to hit the guy if he was alongside me. I need to work out my visual references and work out what you can see in what mirror, because you can't. On the heat of the moment, you can't see a hell of a lot, and yeah, you can't turn your head completely around because your hand's the device. I need to work out what I can see in those mirrors, work out where people are. Anyway, I kept them behind, the 3 of them behind for a bit, and then going into Park again, I think. Again, this is where this is really annoying. If I'd properly absorbed my videos, you turn in, I'm fairly sure it looks like after the turn-in marker, not before. Because anyway, because yeah, I was running wide. But going into there, I went in a bit hot one lap. Probably ruined the exit, but I was just trying to stay ahead. And then the next lap, I felt like I was going in a little bit too hot, had a little bit too much brake, and when I tried to turn in, the back end came round and kind of caught it, but still went off and into the tyres. Just a small bump. Same place I hit last year at Donny. So yeah, I was really annoyed, but I've not been in that situation before. I've usually just gone, actually, tell you what, just go past me. But I started to think at Cadwell, it's quite tight. Maybe I'll keep them, keep them behind me for a few laps, and they might pick me off, or I could finish ahead of one or two of them. I used to be in the mindset that no, that's quite rude. I'm slow. Just let them past. It's out of order to hold them up. Actually, bollocks to it. It's their job to get past you. By the end of that 3 laps, I thought, I'm determined now. I'm going to keep them behind me. It got to a point where, instead of being a bit nervous every time Ken showed his nose, I thought, okay, well, he's showing his nose there. We'll see what happens when we get to the mountain. If he's still there, I'll give him room. If he's not, I'm just taking my line. Yeah. So I went off, quite annoyed, but it was a small bump, and the adrenaline was pumping even more fierce than it probably has before. I just smashed it into reverse and got out there, got back on track as quick as I could, and I thought, we'll see if there's any damage or not. We'll soon find out. And it ran okay. And then got more confidence, and I set my best lap of the weekend. Still not as fast as last year by a tiny amount, which is really annoying. Really annoying. So yeah, in summary, disappointed. There's some positives. We got a ton of points, and I've now kind of been blooded in that experience of trying to keep faster cars behind, and hopefully now next time I won't let the pressure get to me as much. And I've had people behind me, but people that I'm not expecting to send one up the inside any corner now. So that's going to have been a really useful experience, and also I need to really do my homework on these tracks and look at my own homework. We've got Brands coming up next, and I'm quite blasé about Brands. The circuit I've done probably most. I've done it in a few cars, but I'm going to make sure study the onboards and make sure I'm picking out not just the braking point, but the turn-in point, and make sure I've got them. I really need to do lots of homework. I also need to look at the car. It's at the point now where, rather than just get seat time and worry about the car afterwards, I've gone beyond that. It's almost a waste to just keep jumping in the car where the handling is probably not great. So it needs a proper look at. So that's the next job. Oh, and a new battery as well, because the battery it's an Odyssey battery. It's a lightweight. I've heard some teams use them for one race weekend and then throw them away. I've had that in the car since 2012, so yeah, a bit of road usage as well. So I was trying to fire up the car, and occasionally it wasn't. This was at home, so I ran it for a while just to make sure it charged up the battery as much as possible. I jump started it a couple of times, whilst working on it in the week. So yeah, new battery, new gloves as well. Went out scrutineering. Scrutineer takes a look at the gloves and says, I'm going to have to take those off you. You're going to have to find another pair of gloves, because there's a stitching has come apart, and there's like a couple of mil of hole. And they said once they start to fall apart, then they quickly degrade or something. So cheers to Will for lending us his gloves. The other thing is, God, Cadwell, it's a long drive. We set off 1:30. We got to the circuit at 8 o'clock. Finally got to the guest house at 9:30. Kids were absolutely shattered, bless them. So we bad traffic around the M40, M42, that area as usual. And yeah, and then the Lincolnshire roads aren't the best, and there were some diversions, and sat-nav was going nuts because we were on roads that it didn't know, and then sending us onto roads which were not really that good, like loads of potholes, single lane and stuff. But anyway, yeah, so overall disappointed, but took a load out of it, brought a load of points back. 7th in the championship, not going to last. So a productive weekend. Yeah, again, we haven't failed to finish. I did think for this weekend, right, out of the last 4 races now, last 3 races, we've been off twice. Need to stop this. And yeah, hopefully Brands will have a clean weekend. Clean, a bit more competitive. But yeah, I'm not going to leave it to chance. I'm going to really sit down the car and get some external help and make sure it's sorted. And that's us. So the next update will be after Brands Hatch in July.